What if I told you that the pain you've been trying to escape isn't your enemy, but your awakening? That the emptiness you feel, the heartbreak, the frustration, the endless loop of why me? All of it isn't a punishment, but a message? If you're watching this right now, it's not an accident. Something ancient has guided you here. A message that's been hidden for centuries is finally reaching you because your soul is ready to understand it. Thoth, the god of wisdom, left behind a code that explains why so many people live trapped in invisible suffering. Most of humanity moves through life numb, repeating patterns they don't understand, and mistaking safety for peace. But the truth is far deeper and far more powerful. Pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to wake you up. You stand at a crossroads right now. You can ignore this, scroll away, and return to the same emptiness you've been feeling. Or you can stay, listen, and discover the secret that the ancients used to transform pain into power. What you're about to hear can change the way you see everything. Your mind, your choices, your purpose. And if something inside you whispers, "This message is for me," then say it now, out loud or in your heart. I choose to awaken from my pain. The highest excellence of the soul is understanding. When a person truly understands, they stop being a victim of life and start becoming a creator of it. The ancient masters knew that growth never comes from comfort. It comes from fire. It comes from storms. It comes from everything that breaks you open enough for the light to enter. Pain isn't here to harm you. It's here to shape you. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every tear carries a hidden message. Become more. But most people never decode that message. They feel pain and stop there. They don't realize it's the doorway to evolution. That's because the human brain wasn't designed for enlightenment. It was designed for survival. It runs on a very old program. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. For ancient humans, that kept them alive. But for us, it's the very thing that keeps us trapped. It makes us chase temporary comfort and avoid the discomfort that could set us free. This mental program builds a small, self-centered world where everything revolves around your wants, fears, and wounds. You judge every moment as good or bad depending on how it affects your comfort. And that's exactly how you lose your power. When life feels hard, you try to control the uncontrollable. People, outcomes, the past. You give your peace to what you can't change. You resist what is. But the more you fight the flow of life, the more pain you create. You're trying to dam a river that was meant to carry you forward. The ancients understood what we've forgotten. They saw pain not as an obstacle, but as a sacred language. The universe speaking directly to your soul. The Egyptians believed everything in existence was alive, conscious, and symbolic. Every event was a message from the divine. Their hieroglyphs weren't just art. They were codes explaining how reality communicates with us. And in that language, pain was one of the most sacred symbols. It was your higher self trying to guide you back to your truth, whispering, "You're moving away from your essence. Let go. Return to flow." Think of your life as a river flowing toward the vast ocean of divine consciousness. When you move with the current, aligned with your truth, life feels natural and full of meaning. But when you resist out of fear, control, or pride, you create friction. That friction is pain. Pain isn't the punishment. It's the signal. It's your soul's way of saying, something needs to change. But instead of listening, most people cover it up with distractions, addictions, and false comforts. That's like putting tape over a warning light on your dashboard. The signal disappears, but the problem grows silently underneath. So how do you know if you're ready to truly listen? There's a test, and it happens every day. It's not an ancient ritual or a secret initiation. It's simply adversity. How you react when life doesn't go your way reveals your level of consciousness. When you're rejected, disappointed, or hurt, do you fall into blame, anger, or self-pity? That's how most of the world lives, trapped in reaction. But those who awaken, the rare few, respond differently. They still feel pain, but they don't become it. They ask questions like, what is this teaching me? What strength is this trying to build? What illusion is this trying to shatter? That's the difference between the victim and the alchemist. The victim says, why is this happening to me? The alchemist says, what can I create from this? The victim fights reality. The alchemist accepts it, not because they like it, but because they understand this universal truth. You can only transform what you accept. Acceptance isn't surrender, it's power. This is the turning point of your journey. The moment you stop being controlled by the outside world and become the conscious architect of your reality. That's what true alchemy is. Not turning lead into gold, but turning pain, fear, and loss into wisdom, love, and strength. Every hardship you face can become sacred material for transformation. The same stone that life throws at you can either crush you or become the foundation of your temple. The choice is yours. And once you're ready, the universe reveals the first great secret Thoth left behind, the Law of Polarity. Everything has two poles, light and dark, love and hate, success and failure, pain and power. They're not opposites. They're the same energy vibrating at different levels. The event that broke you and the strength that rebuilt you were never separate. They were the same force expressed through different states of awareness. When you resist pain, it feels like breaking. When you understand it, it becomes power. The energy of every event is neutral. It's your perception that decides whether it destroys you or transforms you. Once you see this, life becomes a living classroom. Every storm becomes a lesson. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every loss becomes light. So the next time something hurts, pause. Don't run. Don't numb it. Just breathe. Place your hand on your heart and ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? You don't have to know the answer right away. Just ask and stay open. The more you listen, the more you'll start to see the pattern. Every time you thought something was breaking you, it was actually building you. Pain was never your curse. It was your compass. It wasn't there to block your path. It was the path. And the moment you stop resisting it, the same fire that once burned you begins to illuminate your way. You realize that nothing was ever against you. It was all shaping you. So ask yourself now, before this moment passes, will you keep fighting the current? Or will you let it carry you toward who you're meant to become? Because the truth is, your awakening doesn't begin when the pain ends. It begins when you finally understand what the pain was trying to say all along. The ancient Stoics were masters at turning life's difficulties into wisdom. To them, an obstacle wasn't a wall, but a doorway. Marcus Aurelius said, the obstacle to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This means that everything that seems to block you also carries the energy to move you forward. Life doesn't stop you. It teaches you how to walk differently. This is inner alchemy, turning pain into medicine. When life brings you hardship, you can ask not, why me? But, what can I do with this? Instead of resisting the event, you use its energy. Like a martial artist who redirects an opponent's force, You transform difficulty into strength. Once you see through the law of polarity, you understand that nothing is purely good or bad. Everything is neutral energy, and you are the one who gives it meaning. A heartbreak can destroy your peace or deepen your wisdom. Losing a job can crush your confidence or free you to live your purpose. You always hold that choice. You can live at the negative pole, pain, loss, bitterness, or move toward the positive pole, understanding, resilience, and growth. Pain doesn't vanish. It changes shape. You don't erase it. You use it. That's the first step of mastery, learning to transmute pain into purpose. But transformation doesn't stop there. The second great secret is the law of cause and effect. It teaches that everything in the universe happens for a reason. Every cause produces an effect, and every effect has a cause. What we call luck or coincidence is simply a law we haven't yet understood. Most people live on the level of effect. They react to life as if it happens to them. They drift like dry leaves in the wind, pushed by other people's choices, by circumstance, by emotion. They see themselves as powerless results of events outside their control. This mindset keeps them trapped in a story where they are not the author, but only a character following someone else's script. Those who awaken rise to the level of cause. They realize that their present life, with all its joys and difficulties, is the direct effect of causes they created in the past through thoughts, emotions, words, and actions. They also realize that new causes can be planted now to create a different future. This is true freedom, understanding that while you cannot control everything that happens, you can fully control how you respond. Your response becomes the seed of your next experience. Every thought you think, every word you speak, and every action you take sets into motion a chain of effects that will return to you in time. Living by this law requires self-honesty and constant awareness. You stop blaming society, luck, or people for your circumstances and take full responsibility for your choices. What at first feels like a burden becomes liberation. It gives you back your power. You are no longer a spectator, but the writer, director, and main character of your life. You stop being a pawn on life's chessboard and become the player who moves with clarity and purpose. However, even when you live as the conscious creator of your life, suffering can still remain if your focus stays too small, if your attention is centered only on yourself. This is where the law of correspondence reveals its power. As above, so below. As within, so without. The entire universe is a reflection of what exists within you. The vast cosmos and your inner world mirror each other. The secret to peace is learning to see through this lens. Suffering grows when you fixate on your personal problems, forgetting that you are part of something infinitely larger. When your mind is trapped in self-centered thought, your pain becomes everything. But when you shift your view outward, to your family, community, humanity, the planet, your pain becomes smaller, lighter, part of a larger whole. It doesn't disappear, but it loses control over you. You remember that your life is not just about you. The Stoics often meditated on the vastness of the universe. They imagined the stars, the galaxies, the countless ages before and after their lives. In that scale, even deep sorrow becomes a single drop in an endless ocean. This perspective doesn't erase what you feel, but it reveals the truth. Pain is temporary, and you are eternal. When you dedicate your life to something greater than personal comfort, when your focus becomes purpose, service, truth, your challenges turn into training. Your obstacles become stepping stones. You draw strength not from ego, but from alignment with the greater intelligence of life. You start to act as a servant of that intelligence, not its victim. Your mission becomes more important than your fear. And when that shift happens, suffering dissolves. Pain may still appear as a feeling, but the story of suffering, the mental voice that says, "This shouldn't be happening," falls silent. Understanding these truths is not enough. Reading or hearing them is only the surface. Real transformation begins when you live them, when the laws stop being ideas in a book and become your lived reality, when your awareness, emotions, and actions align, then the universe stops being a theory and becomes a felt experience. You no longer just believe that thoughts shape reality. You feel them shaping it. You don't just understand that everything is connected. You see the divine reflection in the smallest grain of sand, in every face, in every heartbeat. The separation between self and other begins to fade. You start tuning your inner frequency like an instrument, resonating with harmony, peace, and abundance instead of chaos and fear. At this level, polarity becomes your tool of creation. You can turn darkness into light by choice. You can use pain as energy for wisdom, failure as soil for new beginnings. Cause and effect becomes your creative map. You live intentionally, knowing that every thought is a seed. Correspondence becomes your peace. You sense unity behind everything. You no longer fight the waves. You surf them. You no longer see randomness. You see rhythm. You no longer see enemies. You see mirrors. You no longer search for control. You rest in awareness. Life stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like a conversation with the infinite. In that state, you walk through the world differently. You stop rushing to fix every pain or chase every pleasure. You trust timing. You respond instead of reacting. You start to see that everything that happens, every joy, every challenge, every silence, was designed to awaken something within you. You live with quiet power. You forgive more easily. You observe instead of resist. You begin to create not from fear, but from love. You stop needing everything to change because your perception has changed. The outer world begins to reflect your inner calm. The same events that once crushed you now strengthen you. The same situations that once scared you now serve you. And that is true mastery. Not a life without storms, but a life where you have learned to sail. Not a mind without thought, but a mind that chooses its thoughts with care. Not a heart without pain, but a heart that knows how to turn pain into compassion. The ancient laws are not magic tricks. They are mirrors showing you who you really are. A conscious being, both cause and effect, both creator and creation, both the wave and the ocean. When you live with that awareness, life stops being a battle and becomes a dance between your soul and the universe itself. The law of cause and effect becomes the quiet compass within you, guiding every decision, every response, every movement of your being with wisdom that once felt unreachable. You begin to realize that nothing happens by accident, that every word spoken, every thought entertained, and every emotion released sends out energy that will one day return to you. You start to act with a new precision, no longer moved by chance or impulse, but by awareness. You know that every seed planted in consciousness must eventually bear fruit in reality. You begin to live not as a victim of circumstance, but as a creator who understands that cause and effect are simply the reflections of your inner state projected onto the screen of the world. Then life begins to teach you another secret, the law of rhythm. You notice that life moves in waves, that everything breathes in and out, that nothing stays still. There are times of growth and movement, and there are times of rest and retreat. You stop fighting the changes, stop trying to hold on to the peaks, and you start learning how to ride the rhythm instead of resisting it. Like a surfer who knows the language of the sea, you begin to move with the rise and fall of life's tides. You understand that no wave is permanent, that joy and sadness are two notes in the same song, that both are sacred, both necessary. You also awaken to the law of gender, not as a matter of male or female, but as a deeper truth about the harmony between two divine energies that live inside you. The masculine energy gives direction, focus, and action. It moves forward with purpose and builds structure. The feminine energy feels, creates, and receives. It flows, nurtures, and connects everything in beauty. When these two forces within you begin to work together instead of against each other, you become whole. You think clearly yet feel deeply. You act with purpose yet remain open to divine guidance. You live as both the creator and the creation. You become balanced, grounded, and alive in a way that cannot be shaken. This harmony gives birth to real freedom, not the false freedom of doing whatever you want, which is often just rebellion against your own conditioning, but the deep freedom of being who you truly are. It's the freedom that comes when you no longer need the world's approval, when peace no longer depends on external validation, and when love no longer hides behind fear. It's the liberation from the mind's prison, from the endless struggle to control or to be understood. It is the freedom of simply being. In this state, your peace no longer belongs to the world. It begins to rise from within you. You feel a connection to the larger order of existence, a quiet knowing that everything moves according to a divine rhythm. Your heart becomes calm. Your mind becomes clear. You stop searching for safety outside yourself because you found it inside. And without trying, you begin to radiate that peace outward. People feel it when you walk into a room. Your stillness speaks louder than your words. Your presence soothes others because it carries the vibration of truth. You become a vessel of serenity in a world addicted to noise. But Thoth, the ancient teacher of wisdom, reminded us that awakening is only the beginning. To awaken is to see. To master is to live what you've seen. The great secret he shared was the mastery of rhythm, the art of moving through life cycles with grace. Everything in creation moves in patterns. Everything rises and falls, expands and contracts, blooms and fades, and then begins again. Life is not a straight line of endless progress. It is a spiral, revisiting lessons from higher and higher levels of awareness. There will be times of light and times of shadow, moments of abundance and moments of stillness. There will be times when everything blooms easily and times when the ground seems bare. The majority of people suffer not because of what happens, but because they fight this natural rhythm. They cling to the highs, desperate to make happiness last forever, and they drown in despair when the wave falls. But the wise learn to accept the movement of life without fear. They understand that every ending hides a new beginning. Every silence prepares the way for sound. Every winter holds the promise of spring. To master rhythm is not to escape the lows, nor to chase the highs, but to remain centered in both. It's to cultivate a heart that stays steady no matter what season you're in. Like an experienced sailor who trusts the wind and the tide, you learn to steer your life through calm and storm alike. You don't resist change. You ride it. You don't curse the darkness. You rest within it. You don't grasp at joy. You let it flow through you like sunlight through open hands. Your purpose, your deepest truth, and your connection to the divine become your anchor. You realize that success and failure, gain and loss, joy and pain are just the changing weather around your still center. You no longer let the outer climate control your inner state. You can feel everything fully without being swept away. You can celebrate deeply without pride and endure loss without despair. You discover that the same divine current flows beneath every experience. Thoth called this state neutralization, a sacred equilibrium. But neutrality doesn't mean numbness. It means presence without attachment. The master doesn't turn away from life. The master feels it more deeply than ever. The difference is that the master is not controlled by what they feel. When joy arrives, they open their heart and let it sing. When sorrow arrives, they sit with it in silence, knowing it too will pass. Their emotions no longer dictate their direction. Their awareness leads instead. Through many lifetimes of growth and reflection, the master learns that no night lasts forever. Every descent prepares the way for a greater ascent. Every contraction makes room for expansion. The wise don't fight the rhythm. They dance with it. They don't ask life to stop moving. They learn to move with life. And once you begin to live in this balance, a new question arises. Why were you given this wisdom? What is its purpose? Thoth's final message reveals the answer. You have received these truths not by coincidence, but because your soul was ready. You didn't find this message by accident. You were guided to it by the deeper longing of your spirit. When the student is ready, the teacher always appears. But true wisdom is not a crown to wear. It is a responsibility to carry. You were not given this light so you could hide it on a mountaintop or feel superior to those still asleep. The universe entrusted you with this awareness so you could become a bridge, a living doorway for others still searching in the dark. Your purpose is not to force others to awaken. You cannot pull open a flower before its time without breaking it. Each soul blooms in its own season. Trying to awaken someone who isn't ready is an act of ego, not of love. Your mission is simpler and infinitely more powerful. To live the truth so completely that your very presence becomes a teaching. To embody the wisdom in how you speak, how you walk, how you treat others, and how you meet each moment. You become the calm in chaos, the light in confusion, the warmth in coldness, the strength in despair. You don't convince people through arguments. You transform them through energy. Your peace becomes a silent invitation. Your compassion becomes a living sermon. When you reach this level of alignment, you become a lighthouse. You no longer chase people or preach to them. You simply shine. And those who are ready, the tired, the lost, the seekers, will find your light on their own. They will be drawn not to your words, but to your vibration. And when they come to you, you will not give them easy answers. You will guide them gently back to themselves. You will ask the right questions that awaken their own wisdom, helping them remember what they already know. This is how true transformation happens, not through force, but through example, not through argument, but through being. You become the embodiment of peace in motion, wisdom in form, love in action. If you stayed with this message until the end, it means something in you has awakened. You are not here by chance. You are part of the few who are ready to remember who they truly are. You are one of the souls chosen to bring light back into a sleeping world. If these words resonate, leave a comment saying, "I am one of the 1% who awakened." It is your declaration that you have received the message, that you are ready to live it. And if you wish to help this message reach more souls, there is a way to support this work through the link in the first pinned comment. But know that even your presence, your listening, your sharing of this vibration already helps more than you realize. Every act of attention to truth creates a ripple of awakening. You are already part of that ripple. Before you go, there is another message waiting for you, a continuation of this path, another piece of the same golden thread. It's showing on your screen now. Click it, and let's keep walking this journey together, deeper into the mystery, deeper into the remembrance of who you have always been.